The escape pod tumbled through the darkness of space like a broken leaf in an endless ocean. Inside, Kelver pressed his webbed fingers against the cracked display screen and watched the oxygen levels drop. 3 cycles had passed since the pirates attacked his research vessel. 3 cycles of sending distress signals into the void. 3 cycles of silence. Kelver was a Xanthari, a member of one of the galaxy's most advanced civilizations. His people had mastered biotechnology thousands of years ago. They had ships that could cross entire sectors in days. They had medical science that could cure almost any disease. But right now, none of that mattered. He was alone, drifting in uncharted space. His own government had decided he was not worth saving. The message had come 2 cycles ago. Cold, official. The rescue ships would not be sent. The cost was too high for a single low-ranking scientist. The region was too dangerous. His work was backed up on the main servers. They were sorry for his loss. That was all Kelver had cried then. His species did not cry often, but the water that leaked from his large eyes felt like the ocean of his homeworld. He thought about his family. His sister, who studied star formations. His father, who grew healing plants in the biodomes. They would receive his death notification in a few days. They would mourn. Then life would continue without him. He started recording messages. 1 for his sister. 1 for his father. 1 for his research team. In the messages, he tried to sound brave. He tried to sound like his death meant something. But the words felt empty. He was just another number. Another loss in the vast calculations of galactic economics. The pod's computer beeped. Life support would fail in 6 hours. Maybe less. The recycling system was damaged. The temperature was dropping. Kelver wrapped his thin arms around himself, tried to remember warmth. He was preparing his final message when the communication system crackled. At first he thought it was just static. Space was full of random signals. Cosmic radiation. Dead satellites. Ghost echoes from long-forgotten wars. But then he heard something else. A pattern. A response. Kelver's hearts began beating faster, both of them pounding in his chest. He pressed the receive button with shaking fingers. The signal was weak. The translation software struggled with the language, but words appeared on his screen. Distress signal received. This is cargo vessel Wandering Star. We are changing course to your position. Hold on. Help is coming. Kelver read the message 3 times. 4 times. His brain could not process it. Someone was coming. Someone had heard him. He checked the identification codes. The ship was registered to something called Earth. The species was listed as human. He had never heard of either. He pulled up his pod's limited database. Earth was a small planet in what the Xanthari called the Outer Rim, a backwater sector barely worth noting. Humans were a young species. They had only been traveling between stars for a few decades. Their technology was primitive. Their ships were slow. Most galactic species barely acknowledged their existence. Why would they come for him? What could they gain? The question repeated in Kelver's mind like a broken recording. In Xanthari society, everything had a reason. Everything had a cost and a benefit. Helping a stranger from a different species in uncharted space had no logical benefit. The fuel costs alone would be significant. He sent a response. This is Kelver of the Xanthari Science Fleet. I confirm receipt of your message. But I must warn you, this region has pirate activity. You may be placing yourselves in danger. I cannot offer payment. I have no resources to compensate you for this rescue. The reply came faster this time. We know about the pirates. Don't worry about payment. Just keep breathing. We'll be there in 4 hours? 4 hours. Kelver looked at his oxygen gauge. He might have 5 hours if he slowed his breathing. If he did not panic, if the systems did not fail faster than predicted, it would be close. Very close. He spent those hours staring at the empty space beyond his pod's small window. He had never felt so small. The universe was so large, so dark, so cold. He thought about how easy it would be to just disappear, To become nothing? Dust scattered among the stars. But then he saw it. A light in the darkness, growing larger. A ship, dropping out of faster-than-light travel in a flash of blue energy. Kelver pressed his face against the window to see it better. The vessel that approached him was unlike anything in the Zinthari fleet. It was asymmetrical, blocky. The hull was covered in patches of different colored metal. Some sections looked new. Others looked ancient. It reminded Kelver of a creature that had survived many battles. Scarred, but still flying. Ugly, but somehow beautiful. The ship's name was painted on the side in crude white letters. Wandering Star. Below it was a symbol. A small blue and green planet with a single moon. Earth. His saviors had arrived. Kelver began to cry again. But this time, the tears were different. This time, they were tears of hope. Someone had come. Someone he had never met. Someone from a species he had never heard of. They had traveled through dangerous space to save his life. The pod shook as the human ship's tractor beam locked onto it. Kelver was pulled toward the cargo bay. Toward safety. Toward life. His last thought before the pod's door opened was simple but profound. Maybe the galaxy was not as cold as he thought. Maybe there were still beings who helped others simply because it was the right thing to do. Maybe these humans were something special. Something the galaxy needed to see. The door hissed open. Warm air rushed in, and Kelver took his first breath of hope in 3 long cycles. Hash abandoned in deep space until a human ship answered. Part 2. The Wandering Star, the first human. Kelver saw was wearing a stained blue jumpsuit and had grease on her face. She was shorter than him, with dark skin and black hair tied back in a messy knot. When she smiled, Kelver saw all of her teeth. It was a strange expression, almost aggressive. But her eyes were warm. "Welcome aboard," she said through the translation device. "I'm Captain Maria Santos. Can you walk?" Kelver tested his legs. They were weak from days in the pod, but they held. "Yes, I can walk. Thank you for saving my life. I am Kelver. I am in your debt." Maria waved her hand as if brushing away his words. "No debt. Come on. Let's get you checked out in medical. You look terrible." The inside of the Wandering Star was chaos. At least, that was how it appeared to Kelver. He was used to Zinthari ships. Clean, organized. Every surface smooth and white. Every system perfectly integrated. This human vessel was the opposite. Pipes ran along the walls in no particular pattern. Panels were different colors. Some sections had writing in various languages. It looked like someone had taken pieces from 10 different ships and welded them together. But despite the appearance, everything worked. The lights were bright. The air was fresh. The gravity felt stable. The ship was alive with sound. Footsteps, voices, the hum of engines. It reminded Kelver of a living creature rather than a machine. Maria led him through narrow corridors. They passed other crew members. Each one stopped to look at him. Some nodded. Some smiled, that strange teeth-showing expression. One young human with bright yellow hair actually waved. Kelver did not know how to respond. In Zinthari culture, strangers did not acknowledge each other so casually. The medical bay was small, but clean. A man with gray hair and tired eyes examined Kelver. His name was Dr. Hassan. He spoke little, but worked efficiently. He gave Kelver water, food, medicine for the radiation exposure. The doctor's hands were gentle despite their rough appearance. "You'll be fine," Dr. Hassan said finally. "Rest for a day, eat, drink lots of water. Your species has a strong constitution." After the examination, Maria took Kelver to the common area. It was a large room with mismatched furniture, a table, chairs, a food preparation area. Several crew members were there. They all stopped their conversations to look at him. Maria introduced them one by one. Marcus was the engineer, a big man with red hair and arms covered in old burn scars. Yuki was the navigator, small and young with quick eyes that never stopped moving. Chen was the weapons officer, old and quiet with a face that showed no emotion. There were others. Communications, cargo, support systems. 12 humans total on this ship. They all seemed interested in Kelver. They asked him questions. Where was he from? What kind of research did he do? How did the pirates attack? Did he need anything? The questions came fast, overlapping. Sometimes two people asked at once. It was overwhelming. Give him space, Maria said with a laugh. He just almost died. Let the man breathe. They backed off immediately. But they kept watching him with those curious eyes. Kelver realized something strange. They were not suspicious of him. They were not checking him for threats. They were genuinely interested. They wanted to know about him because they cared. Not because he was useful. Not because he had value. Just because he was there. I must ask, Kelver said carefully. Why did you save me? You traveled 3 days out of your route. You used fuel. You risked encountering pirates. I cannot pay you. I have nothing to offer. Why would you do this? The humans looked at each other. Some smiled. Some shrugged. Marcus spoke first. Because you needed help, mate. What other reason do you need? But the cost, Kelver insisted. The resources. The danger. In my culture, we calculate these things. We measure benefit against risk. This rescue had no benefit for you. Maria sat down across from him. Her expression became serious. Let me tell you something about humans, Kelver. We do a lot of stupid things. We make mistakes. We mess up constantly. But one thing we don't do is leave people to die when we can help them. That's not about calculation. That's about being human. But you don't even know me, Kelver said. His voice was small, confused. So what? Yuki said from the navigation console. You're alive. You wanted to stay alive? We could help with that. Simple math. It was not simple math to Kelver. It was the opposite of everything he had been taught. Resources should not be wasted. Risks should only be taken for clear benefits. Strangers were not worth the same consideration as family or colleagues. These were the foundations of Zenthari society. Logical, efficient, successful. But they had left him to die. And these illogical, inefficient humans had saved him. Over the next few hours, Kelver observed the crew. They worked in a way he had never seen before. They argued constantly. Marcus and Yuki disagreed about the best route to the Zenthari station. They raised their voices. They gestured wildly. But 5 minutes later, they were laughing together over a meal. Among the Zenthari, such conflict would create lasting division. Here it seemed normal. They also helped each other without being asked. When Chen struggled with a heavy cargo crate, 2 others immediately assisted. When Dr. Hassan needed a tool from engineering, Marcus brought it without complaint. There was no formal hierarchy in these moments. No requisition forms. No approval process. Just people helping people. Kelver was sitting in the common area, trying to understand what he was seeing when the ship's alarms suddenly blared. Red lights flashed. Maria's voice came over the communication system. Battle stations. We have 3 contacts approaching fast. They matched the signature of Korgoth pirate vessels. The crew moved like water flowing through channels. Everyone ran to their positions. No panic, no confusion. Just smooth, practiced movement. Kelver stood frozen. His data, his research, the pirates had found him. And now, these humans who had saved him would die because of it. Marcus ran past, then stopped. He looked back at Kelver. Strap in somewhere safe, mate? This might get rough. Then he smiled. Actually smiled. Don't worry. We've handled worse. Kelver did not believe him. The Korgoth were professional killers. Their ships were military grade. The Wandering Star was a cargo vessel. There was no way the humans could win this fight. He had brought death to his rescuers. But as the ship shuddered and the battle began, Kelver saw something that changed everything he thought he knew. He saw humans fight. Not with superior weapons. Not with better technology. But with something the Zenthari had lost somewhere in their thousands of years of civilization. They fought with creativity, with courage, with a stubborn refusal to give up, and as Kelver watched, he began to understand why these primitive, illogical, inefficient humans were something special, something the galaxy desperately needed. Abandoned in deep space, until a human ship answered. Part 3. Hunted, the 3 pirate ships appeared on the display like predators circling wounded prey. Kelver stared at the screen in the common area, where he had strapped himself into a seat. Each Korgoth vessel was twice the size of the Wandering Star. Their hulls were black and sleek. Their weapons ports glowed with charging energy. These were military ships built for killing. The human cargo vessel did not stand a chance. A face appeared on the communication screen. Captain Vexmer of the Korgoth pirates. His species had 4 eyes and skin like rough stone. His mouth was full of sharp teeth. When he spoke, his voice was like rocks grinding together. Human ship. You have something that belongs to us. The Zenthari scientist and his research data. Surrender them now, and you will be allowed to leave. Refuse, and we will destroy you. You have 1 minute to decide. Kelver felt his heart sink. This was his fault. These humans had saved him, and now they would die. He stood up, ready to offer himself to the pirates. But Maria's voice stopped him. Stay strapped in, Kelver. This isn't over. They will kill you, Kelver said. His voice was breaking. They have superior weapons. Superior shields. You cannot win this fight. Let me go. Save yourselves. Maria turned in her captain's chair. She was not smiling now. But there was something in her eyes. Something fierce. Sit down. We don't abandon people. Not even to save ourselves. Now strap in and watch how humans deal with bullies. She turned back to the communication screen. Vexamor, this is Captain Santos. I have a counteroffer. You can turn your ships around and leave. Do that, and I won't have to embarrass you in front of your crew. The pirate captain laughed. It was a terrible sound. Brave words from a dead woman? Your minute is up. The communication cut off. The pirate ships opened fire. Energy beams lanced through space. The Wandering Star's shields flared as they absorbed the impact. But Kelver could see the power levels dropping fast. 2 more hits like that, and the shields would fail, Marcus Maria said calmly. Now, with pleasure, Captain. The Wandering Star's cargo bay doors exploded outward. Thousands of gallons of industrial coolant vented into space. The liquid flash froze in the vacuum, creating a massive cloud of ice crystals and vapor. In seconds, the pirates' sensors were blinded. The targeting computers lost their lock. Yuki, get us out of here, already on it, Captain. The ship turned sharply. Kelver felt the gravity compensators struggled to keep up. They dove toward a nearby asteroid field. The rocks ranged in size from small boulders to mountains. The gaps between them were narrow, dangerous, suicidal to navigate at high speed. The Wandering Star flew straight into them. What are you doing? Kelver shouted. This is madness. We will crash. Probably, Yuki said without looking away from her controls. Her fingers danced over the navigation console. But they're bigger than us. Harder to maneuver. In here, we have the advantage. The ship twisted through the asteroid field like a fish swimming through coral. The movements were violent, precise, impossible. Yuki was calculating trajectories, faster than any computer Kelver had ever seen. She anticipated every rock, every angle. Her face showed intense concentration, but no fear. Behind them, the pirate ships followed. But they were slower, clumsier. One ship clipped an asteroid and spun off course. The other 2 continued pursuit, but they could not match the human ship's agility. Chen, Maria said. Ready weapons. We don't have weapons, Captain. We're a cargo ship, remember? Maria smiled. That fierce, teeth-showing smile. We have mining lasers. Get creative. Chen actually laughed. Kelver had not heard him make a sound before. Now he laughed like this was all some kind of game. Creative. I can do creative. The ship rotated as it flew. The mining lasers, designed for cutting through rock, locked onto the pursuing ships. Chen fired. Not at the ships themselves, but at the asteroids around them. Huge chunks of rock exploded into thousands of smaller pieces. The debris created a minefield that the pirates had to navigate. One pirate ship took a hit. A boulder the size of a transport vehicle smashed into their port side. Their shields flickered. They fell back, trailing atmosphere. "Two left," Marcus called from engineering. "But our shields are at 30%. Another direct hit, and we're in trouble." "Then we don't let them hit us," Maria said. "Yuki, exit strategy. There's a dense cluster ahead. If we can get through it, we'll reach clear space on the other side. But the gaps are really tight, Captain. I mean really tight. I might scratch the paint." "Marcus, how attached are you to the portside sensor array?" "Not very, Captain." "Then scratch away." The ship accelerated toward the cluster. Kelver could see the asteroids on the display. They were packed together like eggs in a nest. There was barely room for the wandering star to fit. This was not piloting. This was threading a needle while running at full speed. It was impossible why UKI did it anyway. The ship scraped through gaps that seemed too small. Metal shrieked against rock. Sparks flew. Alarms blared. But they kept moving. The pirate ships tried to follow. But they were too large, too bulky. They had to go around. As the wandering star burst out of the asteroid field into clear space, Marcus called out from engineering. "Captain, I've got an idea. It's stupid, dangerous, probably against several laws of physics." "Perfect. Do it. I'm going to overload the number 3 reactor, the backup one. Then we eject it like a mine. When they get close, boom." "How long until we can go to faster than light speed?" 2 minutes for the drive to charge. How long until the pirates clear the asteroid field? 90 seconds. Adanada Maria nodded. "Then we need to slow them down." "Do it, Marcus." Kelver watched as the engineering display showed the reactor building to dangerous levels. This was insane. Humans were insane. They were going to blow up part of their own ship just to delay the pirates. Among the Zenthari equipment was precious. Carefully maintained, never deliberately destroyed, the pirates emerged from the asteroid field. Their weapons charged. They were angry now. One ship was damaged. Their prey had escaped 3 times. They wanted blood. Marcus ejected the reactor. It tumbled through space between the wandering star and the pursuing pirates. To the pirates' sensors, it probably looked like debris. Damage from the asteroid field. They ignored it until it exploded. The reactor went critical in a flash of blue-white light. The explosion was not large enough to destroy the pirate ships, but it caught them by surprise. Their shields absorbed most of the blast, but the electromagnetic pulse scrambled their systems. They tumbled, disoriented. "Drive charge," Yuki called out. "Ready to jump." "Then let's go home," Maria said. "Engage." The stars stretched into lines. Space folded around them. The wandering star leaped into faster-than-light travel. The pirates were left behind, damaged and confused. The ship was silent for a moment. Then Marcus's voice came over the communication system. "Well, that was fun. Who wants dinner?" The crew laughed. Actually laughed. They had just survived an impossible battle, and they were laughing about it. Kelver sat in his seat, shaking. Not from fear. From amazement, Maria walked over to him. "You okay?" "You beat them," Kelver said. His voice was full of wonder. They had better ships, better weapons, more experience. But you beat them. "We didn't beat them through strength," Maria said. "We beat them by refusing to fight the way they expected. That's what humans do best. We adapt. We improvise. We find solutions in impossible situations. But how? How did you learn to fight like this?" Maria's expression became sad, thoughtful. "So we've had to. Humans came late to the galactic community. Everyone had better technology than us. Better ships. Better weapons. We couldn't compete with raw power. So we learned to compete with creativity, with determination, with the refusal to give up even when logic says we should. She sat down next to him. Every species in the galaxy has something they're good at. The Xanthari have biotechnology. The Korgoth have military strength. The Yil have mathematics. Humans, we have stubbornness. We have the crazy idea that impossible just means nobody's figured it out yet. Kelver looked at her. At this small human who had just defeated 3 military warships with a cargo vessel? My people left me to die because the cost was too high. You risked everything to save me. Then you risked everything again to protect me. I do not understand. That warm, teeth-showing smile. Then let me teach you. Stay with us. Learn about humanity. Maybe by the time we reach your station, you'll understand what we're really about. Kelver nodded slowly. His world had turned upside down in the past few days. Everything he thought he knew about the galaxy was wrong. These primitive, inefficient, logical humans were showing him something his advanced civilization had forgotten. Sometimes the best technology is not enough. Sometimes you need heart, courage, the willingness to help others even when it costs you everything. And sometimes that makes all the difference. Hash abandoned in deep space until a human ship answered. Part 4. What humanity offers the days after the battle passed in a way Kelver had never experienced. Time moved differently on the wandering star. There was no strict schedule. No rigid protocols. The crew worked when work was needed. They rested when they were tired. They ate together in the common area and shared stories like families did on his home. World Kelver found himself drawn into their daily life. Marcus taught him how to repair a damaged power coupling using parts from 3 different systems. It should not have worked. The components were not designed to fit together. But Marcus made it work anyway through creativity and what he called improvisation. See, the thing about human engineering, Marcus explained while his hands worked, is that we expect things to break. So we design everything to be fixable with whatever we have on hand. Xanthari tech is beautiful. Perfect. But when it breaks, you need exact replacement parts. Our tech is ugly. But it works anywhere. Yuki showed Kelver how she calculated navigation routes. She used computer assistance, but she also relied on instinct. She could look at a star chart and feel the right path. When Kelver asked how she knew, she just shrugged. I don't know. I just do. Humans are pattern recognition machines. Sometimes our brains see answers before we can explain why. Dr. Hassan taught him about human medicine. It was shockingly primitive compared to Xanthari biotechnology. They still used chemical compounds instead of genetic modifications. They still performed physical surgeries instead of cellular regeneration. But their approach was adaptable. They could treat dozens of species because they understood the underlying principles rather than relying on specialized technology. Can't regrow a limb like your people can, Hassan said. But we can keep almost anyone alive long enough to get them to someone who can. Sometimes that's enough. But the most important lessons came during the meals. The humans gathered 3 times a day to eat together. They talked about everything. Their past. Their dreams. Their mistakes. Chen spoke about losing his family in a colony raid. Yuki talked about leaving Earth to see the stars. Maria shared why she left the military. I was ordered to leave colonists behind during a border dispute, she said quietly. Command said extraction was too risky. The resources weren't worth the cost. I watched those people die on my scanner while my ship jumped away. I couldn't live with that. So I left. Started this crew, and I made a promise. I would never again measure a life in terms of cost.
Over.
Listen to these stories. In Xanthari culture, people did not share such personal things. Emotions were private. Failures were shameful. But humans seemed to learn from sharing. They grew stronger by admitting weakness. One evening, Kelver decided to share his own story. He told them about his research, about the neural regeneration breakthrough, about how it could help millions across the galaxy, about how the Xanthari government planned to sell it to the highest bidder. Only the wealthy would benefit. That was how things worked. Maria set down her fork. What if you didn't sell it? I do not understand, Kelver said. What if you just gave it away? Published it freely. Let anyone who needs it use it. The concept was so foreign that Kelver could not process it at first. But the research took years. It cost millions in resources. It has incredible value. Exactly, Maria said. It has value. Medical value. It can help people. Doesn't that value matter more than money? That is not how the galaxy works, Kelver protested. Knowledge is a commodity. Research must be protected. Patents must be enforced. This is how progress happens. Marcus laughed, not unkindly. Mate, humans share almost everything. Our medical research, our engineering discoveries. Sure, some companies try to keep secrets, but the big breakthroughs, we share them. Because progress isn't about who gets rich. It's about moving forward together. The people must be compensated for their work, Kelver argued. Sure, Yuki said. But compensation doesn't have to mean hoarding knowledge. You can be paid for your work and still share the results. The two aren't mutually exclusive. Kelver's mind struggled with this idea. Everything he had been taught said that knowledge was power. That power must be controlled. That control must be profitable. But these humans were suggesting something radical. That knowledge was meant to be shared. That helping others was more important than personal gain. I need to think about this, he said finally. Take your time, Maria said gently. Nobody's rushing you. The next day, the ship's sensors detected a distress signal. Kelver recognized the pattern. It was a colony ship, one of the old generation vessels that moved slowly between stars. The ship was full of refugees from a dozen different species. All fleeing a conflict zone in the outer rim, Maria brought up the colony ship on the main display. It was in bad shape. Hull breaches on 3 decks. Life support failing. Engines barely functioning. There were over 800 souls aboard. Yuki, how far are we from the nearest station? Maria asked. The Xanthari station is 2 days away, but there's a commercial way station 4 hours away. Open a channel to the way station. A Yield merchant with 6 arms and a calculating expression. Maria explained the situation. The colony ship needed help. Emergency docking. Medical assistance. Basic repairs. The Yield's response was immediate. Docking fees for a vessel that size are substantial. Plus, emergency services charges. Medical treatment costs. Repair expenses. Can they pay? Maria's jaw tightened. They're refugees. They have nothing, and I have nothing to offer. This is a business, not a charity. I suggest they try the Xanthari station. It won't make it 2 days. Their life support is failing. The Yield shrugged. 4 of his 6 arms moved in a gesture of dismissal. Not my problem. I have shareholders to consider. Maria closed the channel. Her face was stone. She sat in her captain's chair for a long moment, silent. Then she looked at her crew, every single one of them. We have enough supplies for 1 more rescue, she said quietly. Medical supplies we need. Food we might need. Repair materials we'll definitely need. If we give them away, we'll be flying on empty until we can resupply. We might have to take loans. We'll be in debt for months. Nobody spoke. But Kelver watched as, one by one, every crew member nodded. Not a word was said. They all just agreed. Marcus, Yuki, Chen, Hassan, all of them. They would give everything they had to save strangers. Again, Maria turned to Kelver. You're not crew. This isn't your decision. But you're aboard my ship, so you get a vote. What do you say? Kelver looked at the colony ship on the display. 800 people. 800 lives that the galaxy had decided were not worth saving. Just like him. Just like he had been, he thought about everything the humans had taught him. About fighting impossible odds. About refusing to measure lives in terms of cost. About choosing compassion over convenience. He thought about his research. The neural regeneration breakthrough. Who should have access to it? Only those who could pay? Or anyone who needed it? He thought about the choice before him. Use their last resources to save strangers? Or preserve those resources for themselves? His answer came without hesitation. We save them, Maria smiled. That warm, fierce smile, Then let's get to work. The wandering star changed course toward the colony ship. They used the last of their repair materials to patch the hull breaches. They transferred medical supplies, food, water. The refugees looked at the humans with wonder. With gratitude, with tears as they worked, Kelver made a decision. When he reached the Xanthari station, he would not return to his old life. He would publish his research freely. He would share it with everyone. The galaxy needed healing, and healing should not be for sale. More importantly, he would stay with the wandering star. These humans had shown him something his civilization had lost. They had shown him that true advancement was not measured in technology or efficiency. It was measured in compassion, in courage, in the willingness to help others, even when it cost everything. Maybe, he thought, the galaxy could learn from humanity. Maybe that was why they were here. Not to conquer, not to dominate, but to remind everyone else what mattered most. The refugees' children played in the corridors of the colony ship. Their laughter echoed through the metal halls. Marcus stood next to Kelver, watching them. "Worth it?" Marcus asked. Kelver thought about his government leaving him to die, about these humans risking everything to save him, about 800 refugees who now had hope. "Yes," he said. "Worth everything." Abandoned in deep space, still a human ship answered. Part 5. The ripple effect. The refugee colony ship looked different when the wandering star finally finished its work. The hull breaches were sealed with mismatched plates that Marcus had welded in place. The life support hummed steadily. The engines ran smoothly. It was ugly, patched together from spare parts and improvisation, but it would reach safety now. The refugees gathered in what remained of their cargo bay. 800 beings from a dozen species. They had pooled what little they had. Trinkets, personal items, family heirlooms. They wanted to pay the humans somehow. Anything to show gratitude. Maria stood before them with her crew behind her. She looked at the collection of desperate offerings and shook her head gently. "Keep your belongings. You'll need them to start your new lives." "That's payment enough." An elderly Thaxian female stepped forward. Her scales were dull with age, but her eyes were clear. "How can we repay this kindness?" Maria was quiet for a moment. Then she smiled. "Pass it forward. When you're safe and settled, help someone else. Doesn't matter who. Doesn't matter when. Just help. That's all we ask." The Thaxian nodded slowly. "We will remember the humans. We will tell our children and their children. This debt of kindness will be paid forward forever." As the wandering star prepared to depart, several refugees approached Marcus with an offer. 3 engineers, 2 doctors, a skilled navigator. They wanted to stay, to join the crew, to learn from these humans who risked everything for strangers. Marcus brought them to Maria. She interviewed each one carefully, not about their skills, not about what they could offer. She asked them why they wanted to stay, what they hoped to learn, what kind of galaxy they wanted to help build. By the time the ships separated, the wandering star had 3 new crew members. The rest of the refugees continued toward safety with hope in their hearts and a story they would tell for generations. 2 days later, the wandering star reached the Xanthari station. It was massive. A wheel of white metal and blue lights spinning in the darkness. Ships of every size docked at its many ports. Kelver had been to this station many times, but now he saw it differently. It looked cold, sterile, efficient, but empty. The station authorities were surprised to see him alive. They were more surprised to learn he had been rescued by humans. They processed his return with bureaucratic efficiency. Forms, reports, medical scans. Nobody asked how he felt. Nobody seemed to care that he had nearly died. Kelver's research supervisor arrived at the station within hours. Director Zalmoth was a senior scientist with important connections. He pulled Kelver into a private meeting room immediately. "The research data," Zalmoth said without greeting. "Is it intact?" "Yes, Director. I have complete backups." "Excellent. We have several buyers interested." The Yale Consortium offered 10 million credits. The Taraxian Medical Group matched that. "We expect a bidding war once we officially announce the breakthrough." Your share will be substantial. Kelver looked at the director. This being who had spent 3 minutes discussing nearly losing a scientist, and 2 hours planning how to profit from that scientist's work. I am not selling the research. Zalmuth's expression shifted from satisfaction to confusion. Excuse me? I am publishing it freely. Open access. Anyone who needs it can use it. The director's face went through several colors: purple, deep blue, bright orange. That is not your decision to make. This research was funded by the Zenthari science fleet. It belongs to the government. You cannot simply give away millions of credits worth of proprietary research. The research belongs to me, Kelver said calmly. I checked the regulations. Solo researchers retain full rights to their discoveries. You can review my contract if you wish. This is insane. Do you know how much you are throwing away? How much the fleet is throwing away? I know exactly what I am doing. This research can help people. Millions of people across dozens of species. That value is more important than credits. Zalmuth leaned back in his chair. His expression became calculating, cold. The humans did this to you. They filled your head with their primitive philosophies. You were a good scientist before they interfered. The humans saved my life, Kelver said quietly. When my own people decided I was not worth the cost, the humans showed me something we have forgotten. That progress is not about profit. It is about helping each other move forward together. Then you are a fool. And you will remain a fool with no resources, no position, and no future in the science fleet. I accept those consequences. Zalmuth stood abruptly. Consider your resignation accepted. You will receive no further support from the Zenthari government. I hope your human friends appreciate the sacrifice they cost you. After the director left, Kelver sat alone in the meeting room. He had just destroyed his career, given up his position, his salary, his status, everything he had worked for. He should feel regret, fear, anger. Instead, he felt free. He returned to the Wandering Star's docking bay. Maria was there, overseeing cargo loading. The ship was restocking supplies. Going into debt as predicted. She looked up when Kelver approached. How did it go? She asked. I published the research on the Open Galactic Network. I quit my position, and I would like to formally request to join your crew. If you will have me? Maria studied his face. You gave up everything. No, I gave up things that did not matter. I would like to gain things that do. If you will teach me, she smiled. That warm smile he had come to know so well. Welcome aboard, Kelver. Let's find you a bunk. Over the next several weeks, word spread through the galactic networks. A Zenthari scientist had published breakthrough neural regeneration research for free. The story grew. People learned why. They learned about the human cargo ship that saved him, that fought pirates to protect him, that gave their last resources to save refugees. Other ships began responding to distress signals. Not many at first. A Yule merchant vessel stopped to repair a damaged transport. A Korgoth military ship rescued colonists from a failing station. A Taraxian science vessel shared their food with a stranded freighter crew. The culture of abandonment that Kelver had accepted as normal began to crack. Small acts of kindness rippled outward. People who had been helped remembered. They helped others in turn. The story of the Wandering Star became a story people told. A reminder of what the galaxy could be. Kelver stood on the bridge of the Wandering Star 6 months after his rescue. He was learning navigation from Yuki. His webbed fingers moved over the controls with increasing confidence. The crew had become his family. This ship, with its mismatched hull plates and improvised repairs, had become his home. Maria sat in the captain's chair, reviewing supply manifests. She had paid off the debt from the refugee rescue. Barely. Now, they were profitable again. Barely. But they were flying. That was what mattered. The communication system chimed. A distress signal. Kelver checked the coordinates. Deep space. Uncharted region. Dangerous area. The signal came from a species he did not recognize. Someone he had never heard of. Someone who might be a pirate trap, or a genuine person in need. He looked at Maria. She looked back at him. Neither spoke. Then, slowly, she smiled. Yuki, Maria said, "Plot a course to those coordinates." "Already on it, Captain?" The ship turned. The stars shifted. They were heading toward another impossible rescue. Another risk that made no logical sense. Another person who needed help. Kelver realized something profound. This was humanity's gift to the galaxy. Not technology. Not weapons. Not conquest. Just this simple, powerful idea. When someone needs help, you help. When someone falls, you pick them up. When the cost seems too high, you pay it anyway, because some things are worth more than credits. Some things cannot be calculated in profit and loss. Some things just matter because they matter. The wandering star jumped to faster than light speed, racing toward another distress call. Another chance to show the galaxy what compassion looked like in action. Kelver pulled up his personal log and began a new entry. He wanted to record this moment, this feeling, this lesson that humanity had taught him. "I was abandoned in deep space and left to die," he wrote. "I was saved not by superior technology or military might, but by beings who chose compassion over convenience. They taught me that humanity's greatest strength is not what they build, but who they choose to be." Paused. Then added one final line. "The galaxy is vast and cold and dark, but humans are proof that it does not have to stay that way. They are teaching us, one rescue at a time, that there is always enough light to share, always enough kindness to give, always enough hope to pass forward. Perhaps that is why they are here. Not to conquer the stars, but to remind us why the stars are worth reaching for in the first place." He closed the log. Around him, the crew worked, laughed, lived, and somewhere ahead, someone was waiting. Someone who needed help. Someone who would learn what Kelver had learned, that even in the darkest reaches of space, humanity was there, answering the call, proving that civilization was not measured in technology or power, but in the simple choice to care. And that choice, more than anything else, would change the galaxy forever. The end.